Let's get rocking!
It's time for the Metal Groove.
We're fighters for truth, justice, and the American way.
A podcast dedicated to music.
Party on, dude!
Extreme close-up! Whoa! Whoa!
Here's your metal host,
Well, hello, Mr. Fancy Pants.
Tombstone Josh.
I'm your huckleberry.
What is up, fellow metalheads, and welcome into a brand new episode of the Metal Groove Podcast. I am your host. My name is Josh, and I thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you are new here, I appreciate you taking out some time in your day and just checking out this outlet that I use to talk about something I love, and that is rock and roll music. So wherever you are listening to this, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're feeling extra nice, share this with your friends, leave a review, leave a comment, whatever you can do to help this little show grow. I will greatly appreciate it, man. So thank you again for tuning in. Especially if you wanted to chime in on this topic, leave a comment, because it's kind of a weird one, but it's happened across the spectrum throughout the decades, throughout the genre of music, just all across the spectrum. This has been going on. And it's just a part of it, man. So on today's show, we are taking a look at the situation that is happening with As I Lay Dying, and band breakups in general. That is what we're talking about. And it's a weird one, man. This As I Lay Dying thing it's a weird one. They've had turmoil throughout their history as a band, and we're gonna dive into that a little bit. But band breakups are always tough. You know, it always starts with, small rumblings, and either you deal with them, you sweep them under the rug until something else happens. Sometimes you patch things up. But a lot of the times, those small rumblings will just grow and grow, and the foundation just crumbles altogether. My previous band went through somewhat of a breakup at the beginning of this year, and it actually turned out to be the best situation for all of us. And honestly, it's similar to what's happening with As I Lay Dying, but just on a much smaller scale. But we all come into bands as just doing something we love, right? We love playing music. It's a hobby, but that hobby can function as an outlet, whether it's stress relief, whether it's artistic expression, whether it's, a source of income. We all use playing music for different means. But just one person, whether it's through an ego trip, a power, a difficult personality, just a selfish personality, all of those things can attribute to ruining a band. Because, all in all, it takes a group of people all being on the same page, respecting each other, understanding that it takes all of us, no matter the talent. You could be the most talented person in the world, but if you're hard to work with, all for nothing, man. So, that level of respect. Each member brings a unique aspect to the band. It's like a clock. The arms show what time it is, so they're the star. They're showing what's going on. But there are other factors that keep those arms moving in the right direction. Again, look at it like a relationship. Just one person cannot be expected to pull all of the weight, or it's just going to lead to miscommunication, resentment, and an unhealthy atmosphere, right? And I'm not saying all breakups are bad. Breaking up sometimes is the best thing to happen. It's okay to move on. You have to find what works for you. Like I said earlier, my band went through a breakup. We went in a different direction from just one person, and it's been smooth sailing ever since. We're just back to normal. We're just back to doing what we enjoy, and that is playing music. So on today's show, we're going to be looking at what happened with As I Lay Dying. I'm going to read some articles, and then I'm going to talk about a few other bands who also went through breakups. Because like I said, this has been happening for decades and decades and decades. You get a group of people together, you get one asshole in the mix, things can fall apart. But let's start with As I Lay Dying. If you don't know who they are an American metalcore band based out of San Diego, California, formed in the 2000s by vocalist Tim Laminis. The band's first full lineup, including him, was Recognition bandmate Jordan Mancino, completed in 2001. The band has released 8 albums, 1 split album, and 2 compilation albums. As I Lay Dying's 4th studio album, An Ocean Between Us, peaked at number 8 on the Billboard 200 and number 1 on the top rock chart. The band has performed at festivals such as Wacken Open Air, with Full Force, Soundwave Festival, Warp Tour, Bloodstock Open Air, and Taste of Chaos. In 2007, Allen won the Ultimate Metal God Award from MTV2 at the first annual All That Rock special, was named Artist of the Year at the San Diego Music Awards in 2005, and was nominated for a 2008 Grammy Award for the song Nothing Left. Their fifth studio album, Powerless Rise, was written over a 3-year period and was released in May of 2010 to widespread critical acclaim. Their last studio album before their hiatus, Awakened, was released in September of 2012. The band went on an indefinite hiatus in 2014 when Messiest was convicted and sentenced to 6 years in prison for soliciting the murder of his estranged wife. The remaining members formed Woven War with vocalist Shane Blay. In 2018, Messiest reunited with Hippa, Sagrasso, Mancino, and Gilbert. And on June 8th, 2018, the band released the song My Own Grave, their first recording in 6 years. They released their 7th studio album, Shaped by Fire, in September 2019. The band's lineup would crumble in the years following the album's release. Hippa departed the band in 2020, followed by Gilbert and Mancino in 2022. Just over a month between each other, they were replaced by Nick Pierce, Ryan Neff, and Susie, respectively, in 2022. All three would leave the band in 2024, though, although Sagrasso's departure from the band following shortly after leaving Tim as the sole member of the band. As I Lay Dying is currently vocalist Tim, as everyone else has quit the band within the past month. First to leave in the public eye anyway was bassist Ryan, with barely any statement, and then their tour manager quit amongst the rumors as I Lay Dying's European tour was canceled. Guitarist then Ken Susi then quit the band, saying his personal morals have recently been tested to a breaking week, actually, is going to be dropping this week. And if you're listening today, is November 11th. So this week, this brand new album will be dropping, second week in November. Tim notes that there was an unhealthy environment that made leaving for a new tour with the previous lineup unrealistic, later mentioning that Sagrasso was actually the first to leave and everyone else followed. Entering another new iteration, and this was a statement released by Tim. Hi, everyone. I needed some time to process all that has happened recently with As I Lay Dying. As I reflect, I certainly agree that there was an unhealthy environment that made leaving for a new tour with the previous lineup unrealistic, and it had become difficult to figure out even the smallest details, and I admit I can stick strong to my vision, the future of As I Lay Dying, even when others think it should go a direction. It saddens me to think that behaviors, communication, patterns of interaction that led up to the tour cancellation. Phil and I no longer saw eye to eye, creatively or financially. The discussions during this time prompted his decision to depart first, with each of the touring members deciding to leave shortly after, as they were not interested in going on without him. Unfortunately, that wasn't the order in which everything was made public, as some statements were rushed out during a chaotic time in response to rumors. I fully support each guy's decisions to leave, and I believe at the time it is best for everyone. With that being said, the door will remain to discussing anything directly, as I believe closing communications lead to many assumptions and problems of its own. Now, regarding what's next, As I Lay Dying was founded on persistence and determination. For anyone who is familiar with the foundational years from 2000 to 2004, you know that more than 20 people whom I'm incredibly grateful for have come and gone to help during this vision I've had in my head since I was 19 years old. I look forward to building a new team and creating an atmosphere that is supportive and fosters a creative environment. True Storms Ahead will still be released November 15th. I am proud of what we created and look forward to sharing it with you. What a hell of a statement. You know, that kind of sounds like he's dispersing blame, but he's not accepting any of it of himself. Sometimes you can look at the catalyst of what a problem is, and there's always one cog in the middle of that. And I'm not saying that Tim is not necessarily the problem, but if he makes himself difficult to work with, which it seems like he's done over the past 20 years, things like this are going to happen, man. After finishing their European tour in summer of 22, Tim announced the band had plans to release an album in 2023. In June of 2023, the band announced that mixing the album was underway. And in May of this year, the band released a new single, Burden, along with an accompanying music video. So like I said, they have new music out. There's a brand new album coming out this week by that previous version of the band. And then he is going to be going on tour with a new band. No dates have been announced as of yet, but he is going to be putting together some musicians. And with a name as big as this, I'm sure he's going to have no problem finding people. If he is trying to be the ringleader of the circus, he's going to bring in some people. They're going to go on tour. They're going to continue to make music. They're going to continue to make money. And it just seems to be a revolving cycle of what has been going on this band forever, man. And it reminds me of what Axl did in the early 2000s with Guns N' Roses. Like I said, it's so strikingly similar to what happened with my band. But like I said, everything leads in different directions for a reason, makes better, so on and so forth. If interested, new album will be out this week. I'll be checking it out because As It Like Dang is a good band. They put out some great music, man. Tim, for as difficult as he might be, he knows how to put together some songs, man. So I'll be checking it out. It's on the forefront of everything that's happening right now in metal, as far as articles and news. This seems to be kind of the headline lately, is what's going on with this band. So I felt like it was necessary to touch on. I wish him the best of luck, and everybody else from that band. I wonder what direction they're going to go. I wonder if they're going to form their own thing. And I kind of wonder how royalties work, because if everybody had a part in writing this, man, this might turn into a messy situation. But that I just wanted to touch a little bit on what was going on with that, and then I wanted to lead that into there's been so many bands over the years that have broken up or had messy breakups or that have split and then had some reunions, and I wanted to share some of those with you guys. And I found a list from Rolling Stone magazine. And it starts like this. Being in a band is tricky, Bono said earlier this year. The older you get, it gets even trickier, because when you grow up together, you're used to taking bits of each other. You're as good as the arguments you get. But at a certain point, when people are doing well, the man loves to be the lord of his own domain. It's rough. You can just imagine why people say, fuck this, I'm out of here. U2 are one of the few bands in rock history where not a single member has said, fuck this, I'm out of here at any point. Even if drummer Larry Mullen is on break right now while he recovers from back surgery, going back to the days of the Everly Brothers of the 50s, bands have been melting down, often in spectacular fashion. The arguments are often about money or creative control, but everything from religious differences, disagreements on how often to tour can also rip a group apart. There's also the simple fact many bands were formed when members were teenagers. Imagine spending decades with your high school buddies, unable to make major life and career decisions unless everyone agrees. Throw millions of dollars in global adulation into the mix, and things get dicey very fast. And when a group like Fleetwood Mac, Sonic Youth, or ABBA features romantic partners, the breakup can really get messy. The list is our attempt to rank the ugliest breakups. And I'm not going to go through all 50, because like I said, there's many genres of this, and there's just bands I'm not interested in. So I wanted to share some of the rock ones with you guys. And we're going to start off with Styx. Dennis DeYoung formed a band that became Styx in the early 60s with his elementary school buddies Chuck and John. Guitarist J.Y. Young joined in 1970, and Tommy Shaw, another guitarist, rounded out the classic lineup in 1975. The Young and Shaw wrote and sang all of the group's hits, including Come Sail Away, Renegade, and Mr. Roboto. But personal and musical differences led to the group splintering in the early 80s. They reformed in 1996 for a successful reunion tour, but in 1999, DeYoung contracted a viral illness that made it sensitive to light, delaying their touring plans. Frustrated by waiting and the difficult process of creating their 1999 LP, the group kicked DeYoung out and replaced him with keyboardist singer Lawrence Gowan. DeYoung sued them the following year. They have taken the band's name and excluded me from the decision-making process. I have asked for a meeting since July of 98, and the response I've gotten is there is no interest in talking. A deal was eventually worked out, and the band could carry on without him. And even though DeYoung recovered many years ago and has said he would love to come back for one last tour, it doesn't seem likely. In retrospect, we weren't even happy working with each other in our heyday, Shaw told Rolling Stone in 2011. Just different people with different desires and different visions of how things should be. It was such an unhappy place. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. We might be crazy, but we're not insane, he says. Styx, man. Great band, great music. That's kind of crazy to kick out a dude that had an illness and then not be able to wait for him to get over it. That's kind of shady, but I get it, man. I get it. Sometimes money talks. You got to move on. You got to go with it. It kind of seems weird that it's just a weird situation altogether. Let's move on to Journey. In 1987, at the height of Journey's success, frontman Steve Perry decided he didn't want to be in a rock band anymore. A little under a decade later, for the successful reunion album by Fire. Tour was in the early stages of development when Perry went hiking in Hawaii and experienced severe hip pain and soon learned he'd likely require surgery. For the next several months, Perry considered his medical options and put the definite hold. The wait was agonizing for his bandmates. They wanted me to make a decision on the surgery, Perry said, but I didn't feel it was a group decision. I was told on the phone that they needed, I was going to do it because they had checked out some new singers. Perry felt that his bandmates were trying to corner him. I said to them, do what you need to do, but don't call it Journey, he said. If you fracture the stone, I don't know how I could come back. It's now a quarter century later, and Perry is stuck in his word. Next on the list, Black Sabbath. In the late 70s, there were very difficult time for Black Sabbath. For not only competing with a new genre of hard rock and heavy metal bands they inspired, but also dealing with Ozzy Osbourne's drinking problem, drug use, and overall unreliability. This led to 2 underwhelming albums and a tour where opening act Van Halen blew them off the stage every night. Tony Iommi wrote in his memoir, "It was sad. We had been together for a decade, but got to a point where we couldn't relate to each other anymore. There were so many drugs flying around, coke and quaaludes. Somebody had to make a move. Somebody had to do something. Otherwise, we'd still be there and we'd all be out of it." So that was that. Osbourne flipped out when Iommi covered the news that he was out. "We were like a family, like brothers," Osbourne said. "And firing me for being fucked up was hypocritical. We were all messed up. If you're stoned and I'm stoned and you're telling me that I'm fired because I'm stoned, how can that be? Than you are?" Hey, man, Ozzy Osbourne was a train wreck. No matter how much of a legend he is and an icon in heavy metal history, he went through it, man. He's still going through it. And Black Sabbath split. They went better things. Both of them did great separately. So I don't see. It sucks that they split, but it made sense for them. You know what I mean? Like going back to what I said earlier, sometimes breaking up is for the good. And in this case, it was good for Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. Next one on the list is one I'm very fond of. It's one of my favorite bands growing up, and that is the Black Crowes. And the Black Crowes rode together in 2001. They jokingly called the tour Brotherly Love. That's because the brothers at the core of both bands had spent the past decade fighting like maniacs. Chris and Rich Robinson dissolved the band just a few months later, reunited it 3 years after that, and then saw it collapse once again in 2015. Rich Robinson said it came down to a business dispute. "I love my brother and respect his talent, but his present demand that I must give up my equal share of the band and that our drummer for 28 years and original partner Steve Gorman relinquish 100% of his share, reducing him to a salaried employee, is not something I could agree to." In 2017, Chris told Rolling Stone he had no interest in a reunion. I plan on at some point singing those songs, he said, but not with any of those people. Family's family, business is business, but music is music. And that music has been tainted to me by behavior and attitudes. You know what I mean? Money's never motivated me. It's not going to start now, no matter what. The band came back 2 years later for a reunion tour. Tickets were not cheap. Me and my brother went to see them. Went to see Chris and Rich because I don't believe any of the other, maybe the bass player. I don't know. That's one of those bands where they've just had a revolving door of musicians coming in and out. But we saw them. The songs still hold up. The songs have stood the test of time. It was the Shake Your Moneymaker 30th anniversary, I think. They sounded great, man. They sounded great. Normally anything the Black Crowes has going on, I will try to support them. They're one of my favorite bands of all time. But yeah, that was a messy one. I remember seeing, I mean, Chris is already kind of a volatile person in himself. He is ready to argue and fight with just about anybody. And yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy one, man. Black Crowes has always been one of my favorites. And anytime they break up, it's like, okay, when are they going to come back together? And it's just a fun story. I read Steve Gorman's book and just their history it's a wild one, man. I can't suggest checking that out anymore. It's a fun one. It's a crazy one. All right, moving on. Next on the list is Pantera. In early December 2004, Pantera frontman Phil Anselmo unloaded on guitarist Dimebag Darrell in an interview with Heavy Metal magazine. The group had been inactive for 3 years at this point, and both sides blamed the other for the argument. Anselmo said that Dimebag had developed a crippling drinking problem, and the guitarist turned around and said the singer was using heroin. There was never a point when Dimebag could not get drunk, Anselmo said, which was pretty much every day. And now I'm hearing it's worse than ever. He could attack me vocally, and just know that I was so much smaller than me, I could kill him like a piece of vapor. He would turn into vapor. What a lame thing to say. His chin would, at least, if I smacked it. And he knows the world should know that. So physically, of course, he deserves to be beaten severely. What a wicked thing to say. What a crazy thing to say. I mean, I'm sure all of the never mind. Days after the interview hit, a deranged fan murdered Dimebag during a concert in Columbus, Ohio. It would be deeply unfair to pin any blame for the tragedy on Anselmo. The gunman is 100% responsible, but the heated rhetoric in the final days of Dimebag's life caused deep divisions between Anselmo and Pantera drummer Vinnie Paul, Dimebag's brother, that were never resolved. Paul died in 2018. Earlier this year, Anselmo and Pantera bassist Rex Brown revived the band with guitarist Zakk Wylde. They never got to settle their dispute. That's kind of a bummer, man. I hate to hear that. Pantera's an awesome band. I haven't been out there. They're going on tour, I think, with Metallica Biscuit. I'm going to see that tour. That might be one I need to check out. You guys think of the new Pantera, by the way. Next on the list is an old school. We're going with Fleetwood Mac. Determining a single accurate breakup for Fleetwood Mac isn't easy. The band spent its entire 50-year career in a state of perpetual disillusion. Before they hit the big in the mid-70s, they jettisoned Peter Green, Danny Kerwin, Jeremy Spencer, and Bob Welsh. The Mac line that made rumors and defined California rock kept that chaotic spirit alive. From the divorce of John Christine McVie to the breakup of Hicks and Lindsey Buckingham, to Buckingham's decision to walk away from the band after their 1987 LP Tango in the Night, to Christine McVie's departure in 1998. She returned in 2014, though. Hicks and Buckingham did manage to reach a fragile truce in 1996, which allowed them to stay on the road for another 2 decades. But when it came time to gear up the Mac again for another tour in 2018, everything fell apart. It began at New York's Radio City Music Hall when the band was honored by Music Cares. Hicks gave a long speech that night, and she felt that Buckingham was smirking behind her in a disrespectful fashion. Days later, manager Irving Azoff called Buckingham to say that Hicks was unwilling to remain in the band with him. The irony is that we have this standing joke that Stevie, when she talks, goes on a long time, Buckingham told Rolling Stone. I may or may not have smirked, but I look over at Christy and Mick are doing the same behind her as a joke. Filed suit against the band for wrongful termination, which was ultimately settled out of court. It breaks my heart that we 43 years always finding a way to rise above our personal differences and our difficulties to pursue and articulate a higher truth. That is our legacy. That is what songs are about. That is not the way you end something like this. Next on the list, Motley Crue. By 1992, which Motley Crue has been through quite a few members, a couple breakups in there, some hiatuses, a retirement. They've been through it all. Same like Kiss. Kiss isn't on the list, though. I guess because it was never messy. It was just Paul saying, hey, I want new people. Maybe Kiss was in their early days. But they didn't make the list. So anyways, Motley Crue. By 1992, Motley Crue were burned out. The previous 3 years had been crazy whirlwind thanks to the huge success of Dr. Feelgood album and tour. Their decision to follow it up with the compilation Decade of Decadence and yet another huge tour, they needed time away from the music business and each other. And it sent them right back into the studio to make another record. Vince Neil was often late to the sessions, causing rigorous arguments with the rest of the band when he did show up. I am fucking out of here, he yelled after a particularly nasty one. Call me if you ever change your mind. Neil claims he was fired. The band claims he quit. This wasn't the problem. Drummer Tommy Lee admitted in the memoir The Dirt he was just a scapegoat. They've had many problems throughout the years. I always felt like Nikki Sixx, no matter how talented he was, he might be one of those guys. It's just hard to get along with. Maybe he's chilled out over the years. I wouldn't know because he blocked me on Twitter. I like to bring that up randomly because it's such a weird, just random thing. I'm blocked by Nikki Sixx on Twitter. That's crazy. All right, anyways, next one on this is Guns N' Roses. Guns N' Roses parted ways with their original drummer Steven Adler in 1990 due to his severe heroin addiction, and founding guitarist Izzy Stradlin left the following year due to burnout from touring and tension with his bandmates. Despite the defections, the band was still one of the biggest acts on the planet by the time they finished the 2.5-year Use Your Illusion tour in the summer of 1993, crafting a proper follow-up album after the 94 covers collection of the Ski Incident, however, ultimately destroyed the group. A big source of tension was singer Axl Rose's decision to bring in childhood buddy Paul Tobias as a new guitarist, despite his lack of songwriting chops, a move that met heavy resistance from founding guitarist Slash. He was without a doubt least interesting, most bland man holding a guitar I ever met, Slash wrote. I felt like we were being force-fed with no qualities who didn't deserve and couldn't handle the gig. They also simply could not agree on the sound of the new album, and the sessions were extremely tense. They eventually tried to bring in former Ozzy Osbourne guitar into the mix, but it was hopeless. After a while, I could barely show up because the animosity was so crippling, Slash said. It was so negative. Slash left the band in 96. Duff McKagan followed in 97. When they reemerged in 2001, Rose was the latest remaining member, and it was a band in name only. Slash and Duff came back in 2016 and an extremely positive and lucrative reunion tour that is still going. All right, last one on the list, and I left them for a big reason, is because they appeared on this list 3 separate times, and they've been were one of the messiest ones of all time. And I had just gotten the book, Alex Van Halen. For those that don't know, Van Halen is the one I'm going with here. I got the Alex Van Halen book, and I look forward to reading this because I want to hear his perspective. He's never been somebody that's been in the public eye as far as interviews or talking about, tensions with the band or the behind the scenes. Really look forward to digging into that book. But Van Halen, man, they've had a lot of turmoil despite the amazing music that they put out. Like I said, they appeared on this list 3 times. Their original breakup was the ugliest. It took place just as David Lee Roth's incarnation of the band was at the pinnacle of its success, thanks to the LP 1984 and the hits Jump, Hot for Teacher, and Panama. But frontman David Lee Roth felt the group was drifting too far from their hard rock roots by embracing hazards, and Eddie Van Halen felt Roth was too focused on his solo career and possible future as a movie star. There were also personality clashes stemming back to the early days of the band. In August 1985, Eddie told Rolling Stone that the rumors about Roth leaving the band were true. Band as you know it is over, he said. Dave left to be a movie star and had the balls to ask if I'd write a score for him. Looking for a new lead singer. It's weird that it's over 12 years of my life putting up with his bullshit. They had a man by the name of Sammy Hagar step in, and they went on a lucrative run, a popular run of its own. Van Hagar, whatever you want to call him, was successful, man. I prefer Van Hagar myself. I respect everything David Lee Roth did, and I love the David Lee Roth era of Van Halen. Ours a little bit more. But that was the next messy breakup. 8 years before they broke down at their 2004 reunion, Van Halen went through an even more bruising battle. It was, of all things, the soundtrack of Twister. When they were asked to make a song for the Tornado action movie, they had just finished a long tour, and Hagar told his bandmates that he was exhausted. It led to a bitter fight. That was the temperature of the band at the time, Hagar told Rolling Stone in 2022. It didn't going to do. We were fighting about everything. The Van Halen brothers claimed that Hagar quit in aftermath, but the singer tells a different story. Oh, I was fired, he said. I was told that I quit by Eddie. It was Father's Day. Sunday morning, 9 a.m. The phone rings. I'm laying there with my brand new baby. He goes, you know, you always just wanted to be a solo artist, so go ahead and be one. We're going to get Dave back in the band. Things weren't nearly that simple. The band hired Gary Cherone in 1997, fired him after one successful album and tour, and spent much of the next decade in a state of absolute chaos. Van Halen was a band name only when they reunited with Sammy Hagar for an arena tour in 2004. It was more like an experiment where two bitter factions, the Van Halen brothers on one side, Hagar and bassist Michael Anthony on the other, trying to see if they loved money and pleasing their fans more than they hated each other. Possibly might have worked if Eddie Van Halen was sober at his time, but he wasn't. He was also incredibly angry that Hagar tried to advertise his Cabo Wabo tequila on the tour. What a weird, funny name to just say in the middle of all this argument and fighting and turmoil. Let's just throw in the word Cabo Wabo. Even tattooing the logo on his arm. Tensions boiled over at the last show in Tucson, Arizona. He came up to me before the show, rolled sleeve down over my Cabo Wabo tattoo. Hagar, there's that freaking word again. Hagar wrote memoir, Red Rocker. I rolled it back up. Don't be fucking with my shirt, dude, I said. That thing ain't gonna last, he said, showing me his Van Halen tattoo. See that? Better. That's what's going to last longer. It was the first show we'd ever done in our lives. Eddie played so bad. He pulled some crazy stuff on the plane home. He was completely gone and out of it. Made peace short before the guitarist died in 2020, but they never played together again. And that is unfortunate, man. Van Halen was amazing. They were absolutely incredible. There was a lot on the list. I'm not going to go through all of them. I'll give a couple notes, like the Police, Pink Floyd, Blink-182, Smashing Pumpkins, the Beatles, Sex Pistols, Oasis, Queensryche, Rage Against the Machine, Live, just to name a few. There were some pop artists in there. There were some R&B artists, other rock bands. I didn't really talk about them. So that's just a small breakdown of bands that have had breakups. Like I said, it's a part of it, man. It's a part of life. It's a part of history. We all do ebbs and flows, up and downs. And sometimes they're for the better. Hopefully you can reconcile and you can make both sides at least friendly. If you're not going to be together, both sides should at least be friendly. Because no matter what it is, if it's a band, if it's a relationship, things have been built, things have been put together. You know, and it's beautiful. Some of the things you created while together are beautiful and has made an impact on the world. So it's always good whenever the two sides can stay friendly, man.
All right, that's a wrap for this week's show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to me ramble about these band breakups and negativity and fighting and bad news and all of the headaches that go with being in a band. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening to that, man. I know I went on a little bit of a run there, but I just felt like it's an important topic when it comes to bands and music history it's just a part of it. And as I lay dying, I wish that dude Tim the best of luck. I mean, potentially he's a bad guy. I mean, he hired somebody to kill his ex-wife, so apparently he's a bad dude. So I don't really want to support him, but I felt like it's something that's on the forefront of metal news right now, so I had to talk about it. So we're not going to be ending the show with an As I Lay Dying song, which would be fitting. But instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a song by a band I really do enjoy. Thought, why not end on some positivity? And the name of the band is Bullet for My Valentine. The song is called Knives. The drum intro alone in this song is beautiful. The drum playing in all of their songs is really good, man. And I enjoy them, in the show with some positive vibes, some positive energy, all that screaming, all that heaviness. It's a good way to end the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please throw some comments in there. Please share. Please like. If there's a band I missed that broke up that you enjoy, please tell me about them. If there's one that you want to get back together. I know people are still fighting for Skid Row to get back together with Sebastian Bach. That looks like it's never going to happen. But comments, reviews, likes, all of those things help us grow, and I would greatly appreciate if you guys would chime in, comment. Love to hear from you. That's what makes this fun, is conversing back and forth about a topic that we all love. So, appreciate you. I like to end every show by saying stay happy, stay healthy, most importantly, stay metal. Turn this one up. See you guys next week.
Living with snakes
Hey, that's the show for this week. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And join us here at the Thrill Me Podcast Network, where you can check out phenomenal shows like Haunter's Podcast, The Review at Rob Show, The Mr. Wonderful Show, and Core Memory Unlocked. We greatly appreciate you. And until next time, stay metal.